You're listening to the Behind Ears podcast, because everybody does Disney differently. The Behind Ears podcast crew would like to thank the following sponsors for their generous support.
Attention wizards and witches. The Expedition Roasters head roastmaster is pleased to announce the release of 4 new wizarding brews. Are you charming and courageous? Book-smart and brilliant? Big-hearted and kind? Or possibly cunning and ambitious? You may have to try all 4 to find out which house roast you belong to. So cast a transporting spell over to expeditionroasters.com to begin your journey. And don't forget to continue your adventure with our large selection of pop culture-inspired themed coffees. There's always an adventure in every bag. Behind the Ears podcast fans, be sure to use the code EARS20 for 20% off your first order. That's EARS20 at expeditionroasters.com. Brew, your happy place.
If you have a little one and you're going to Walt Disney World, you're going to need a stroller. I'll tell you what, kingdomstrollers.com is the place where you want to look into. I'll tell you, I've destroyed my fair share of strollers while at Walt Disney World, and those things are not cheap. But getting something from kingdomstrollers.com, they'll be able to help you pick out the perfect stroller for you. And the nice part is that because they're a Disney preferred provider, they'll be able to drop it off and pick it up right from your Disney resort at no extra charge. So if you don't want to necessarily destroy your stroller in the process and you want to have a great Disney vacation with your little one, contact kingdomstrollers.com and they'll set you right up. That's kingdomstrollers.com. Do you want to save around 40% off Disney's prices for deluxe on-property accommodations? Contact dvc-rental.com. They help out Disney Vacation Club owners rent out points that they're not going to use. These points mean savings for you on your next trip at Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Vero Beach, Florida, and Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. The DVC member books everything in your name, just like any other reservation. And if you ever decide that you want to become a DVC member, you can check out our sister company, buyandselldvc.com. As a licensed realtor, they sell DVC contracts for members at a savings of 30 to 40% off Disney's prices. And if you're looking to sell your contract, buyandselldvc.com has one of the industry's lowest commissions at only 6.5%. Again, that's dvc-rental.com for your rental needs, and buyandselldvc.com to buy or sell into the Disney Vacation Club at a large discount. And make sure you tell them that the Behind Ears podcast crew sent you. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Behind Ears podcast. I am your host tonight, Mr. Kris. Uncle Danny is out on special assignment tonight. He gives his regrets that he is not able to join us, but if you think that I don't have an awesome guest to come with us on this journey, on this topic that I'm sure is going to produce some pretty interesting comments, then you obviously don't know me. I've got our friend and man on the street, Kris, joining us. I pressed the wrong button, but that's okay. I've got Kris joining us in the show, and it is going to be really cool as soon as I figure out what's going on. There he is. If I could only press the right buttons. Where is Danny when I need him? That's what I have to say. Where is Danny? Because there is Kris. Kris Hiller, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you doing tonight?
Hey, man, I'm doing awesome. I am doing really awesome. I'm really glad that you're able to come and join us tonight. And I know that you were streaming one of the coolest concerts that I think is available for the Eat to the Beat series. It was 98 degrees tonight, wasn't it?
It was about 98 degrees when we were there watching them as well. It was packed in crowd.
Oh, man. I take it, I know you've been there for quite a few of the shows during this particular series. How has it been, crowd-wise, in the evening hours and so on and so forth? Has it been pretty nutso, or has it been pretty reasonable, I should say?
Well, we do usually about the 8 o'clock show because my wife doesn't get off work till about 7 p.m., so she usually meets us there. It takes about a half an hour to get in to the, back to the American Theater there, so we always choose the 8 o'clock show. And I mean, for some of the older groups, it's been not as packed in, I actually prefer the older groups. They carry the crowd more during their events. But tonight was just unbelievable. I know they stopped the annual pass preferred seating. I think it was after September they stopped that. So I think they were expecting bigger crowds as well.
Oh, wow. You know, I know it's really kind of interesting when you hear about, you know, the crowds and stuff like that, especially for the concerts. And, you know, everybody used to say, hey, this is a great time to go because, you know, you tend to not get all the crowds. But I think people are just totally mistaken on that anymore. I'm not sure we have too many non-crowded times to go, especially when you have these special events going on. But I'll tell you what, we've got a really, really interesting topic to talk about. And I know that you were actually posting some things over on the WDW community page to kind of forewarn people the other day that ticket prices were definitely going up today, and they did, let's face it. And it's not like this is something that we weren't expecting, because ticket prices have normally gone up traditionally February and October. And this is obviously not in the middle of winter, so it's got to be October. And it was pretty apparent. And we actually had a lot of people start chiming in on different things. And I kind of want to just get your take on some of this first, especially along the lines of, you know, you're an AP, and obviously you make an investment on that every year. What are some of your thought process just in the amount that the annual passes have gone up? Because I know it's gone up like, what, $50 for a basic pass, annual pass. And that's, of course, per person. And, of course, if it's you and your wife, double that. What are some of your first thoughts of, you know, what are you going to deal with? How are you going to deal with the ticket price increase?
Well, I was talking to a lot of people on other pages as well today. There's an annual pass page that a lot of us Floridians use. And it's like I said to them, you know, at the end of the day, it's the same process twice a year, it seems, that, you know, they announce the ticket prices are going to change. There's some drama before it actually unfolds, and then the new prices are released. And, I mean, our pass, I thought it went up a little bit more than it did, but it only did go up $20 per pass for the year. It's the same process every year, though. You know, like I said, they announce it. There's a little bit of grumbles. Then they actually take effect. People complain about it. It is what it is. Disney is never going to change what they're going to do. So, you know, we just kind of keep this process going each year, and we just kind of forget about it until the next time it takes over again. I, for one, will not let $20 a pass keep me away from going to Disney as often as I do. It's the one thing that my wife and I enjoy doing the most. So, I mean, $20, it's less than what parking costs now.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is that, from my understanding, even parking has gone up too, from $22 to $25. Speaking of
Correct.
Parking, so there's one change. $25 a day. I mean, we're getting to the point where that is starting to eat into a price tag, you know, into most people's price tags, if you think about it. I mean, because especially if you're off site and you're going to have to park. I mean, there you go, there you have it. Now, it's interesting because we're now at a point where Disney is doing something different. And they are actually doing this whole regular peak, regular value, and low times. And it's really, I'll be honest with you, this is really kind of confusing to me. You know, prices are now going to be dynamic depending on when a person is going to go. I think this is going to, personally, I think this is going to cause some confusion, especially for those that do last minute trips, people that end up having to change their trip from one time to another because of one reason or another. Because all of a sudden, if you plan on doing a trip that was sometime in between spring break and the summertime, and you're going to get one price, all of a sudden you're going to have to go in the middle of July, that's going to be a different price. And I think that's kind of interesting. I mean, I'm not going to say it either way because, you know, I haven't really looked in great detail. However, allears.net has a pretty good rundown on some of the historical price changes. And, the thing is that if you're buying some, just regular tickets, we're still only talking about a few bucks per day for a 1-day ticket. But again, $50 for an AP, it's, compared last year, according to what they have, last year the APs went up like $70, or if it was a premium annual pass, $80. And, there are different price increases over the past several years. February of 2016 is the only period of time where actually they didn't do an increase in the past number of years. So I'm not really sure, but what were some of the things that other people were saying on other pages? I mean, did you hear many of the lines of, this is going to price me out altogether?
I did see a lot of comments saying, I've been a pass holder since 2002. I've been one since 2004, and Disney has now crossed that line of pushing me out. And then it's really a mixed reaction. A lot of people are saying that, but a lot of people are also saying what I said. For $20 difference, for me it's easy. It's only me and my wife, so it's only $20 for 2 tickets, only $40 a year, or actually depending on what goes on in February, it could be different. But $40 isn't going to stop us from going. Now, other people, like there was one lady that was talking, I think she said she had 12 people she bought it for. $20 a pop, then, that definitely makes a big, significant difference.
That is a huge chunk. I mean, $20 a pop, 12 people, and you're still talking, just on the south end of $250 of a price difference. I mean, $250 is a lot of money. Now, it may not necessarily be a lot of money when you break it out, because $20 a person is, I mean, let's face it, it's not that big of a deal. But it really can be a problem. I did a poll on the WDW community page, and, basically only a very small fraction of people basically said, that's it. I'm not going anymore. I will no longer go because of the price increase. Everybody else is like, yes, I'm going to still continue to go. And I purposely did that particular poll because I know I wanted people to save their comments for tonight, first and foremost, but I kind of wanted a definitive yes and no. Is this going to cause a person to throw in the towel for a Disney vacation? And the vast majority of the people said, no. This is not going to be the straw that broke the camel's back. And I don't like the price increase, but I think you also broke it down really well in the sense of, hey, if you expect people to get wage increases, and if you expect people to get new attractions and new lands and new hotels and everything else like that, where is that money going to come from? It's going to come from the guests, and that's a big deal. Let's see. Some of our comments. By the way, I did appreciate that breakdown because I didn't think about it. How many employees are hanging around the Orlando area? 75,000.
That's what Google told me anyway. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but I kind of go off of what they report. I wonder
if that's actually corporate wide. Not just those that are at the parks, but those that are corporate wide. I'm almost betting it's that.
Walt Disney World Resort. Hold on 1 second, I can tell you.
Because that seems a little on the high side, but you know what? I don't know. But still, it's a ton of people. So, but Gordon actually brings up a really good point. He says here, it's not just that it's the parking and the room rates and the food prices and the park tickets. They're all going up. And that's the big thing. They're all going up at the same time. Because if you think about it, a 10-day vacation, if you're going from $22 to $25, now, you're talking, another $30 worth of parking. That's like a day and a half worth of parking. Trisha also brings up a really good point. She's like, many will still go, but will they cut back on other activities at Walt Disney World? Another wonderful point. I know Danny and I have kind of talked about that in the past. Let's see. Albert basically says, hey, I'm still going to go. and I'm still planning on renewing. And Mary actually makes also a good point. I don't know how people with a couple of kids could afford Disney anymore. I'm trying to find one more comment. I thought our very own Jessica basically said, I'm glad I upgraded the annual passes when I did, but I don't think we're going to renew. Again, everybody's going to have to start making some differences on that. It's going to be kind of interesting to see how it goes. I saw that you posted a picture of the ticket prices at Epcot, and it made it sound like if you buy your ticket, it's only you only have a certain number of days to actually use it now. Does that seem accurate? Hey, lose you, Chris? Hey, Chris, did I lose you? I wonder if I lost Chris. So I think I may have, but that's okay. We'll definitely get back to him in just a moment. I bet you any money he is... Let's see. I thought Chris actually is messaging me on the side, and he goes, he lost. So I'm going to kick him out and bring him back in, and we'll see how that goes. Because Chris actually saw some really interesting things over at Epcot. Chris, I think I got you back. No, okay. Well, I'll tell you, Chris, go ahead and kick yourself out. And I'll bring you back in when you get a second. And if he doesn't work out, we're going to do some phone calls. I want to actually hear from you, our listeners, here in just a few moments. Because I think that there are some really interesting comments that to be had here about this. I hear him now. I wonder if I lost Chris. Chris? Oops. It's always funny when you do live shows like this, especially when I'm all by myself. So let me try one more time. I think he's coming in. Hey, Chris, you there now?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. That's cool. So some other comments that came about just while we were dealing with some technical difficulties. Ryan actually makes an interesting comment. I'm thinking of selling my DVC now because of the increase, and I literally just bought in March. It's crazy expensive now, and I keep wasting money. It's too big of an increase to justify. Ryan, before you sell, let me make this comment. I've been a DVC member for over 10 years now. I could actually sell my DVC membership for more than what I paid for it. So basically, I would only have had to have paid my dues, and that would cover all my lodging over the past 10 years. It's a really significant savings. The thing of it is that I know that DVC in itself is very expensive, and I know that it may seem like this is really kind of a last straw type of thing. But I think you're going to find that being a DVC member is going to easily outweigh the price increases. And it'll probably do so over a period of time. Because as a DVC member, you're not experiencing parking at the resorts. You're not experiencing, the complete rate, the same rate of inflation for the hotel rooms. And at the same time, you're going to be able to get some discounts with the annual passes if that is the way you choose to do Disney. Before you go that way, break it down. And I bet you any money you're going to see that your investment was still very much worthwhile as a DVC member. Right now, this is kind of a hard pill for some people to swallow. But I don't think that you're going to be disappointed if you stick around. That's just my 2 cents, my friend. Let's see. Let me scroll through here really quick. Megan actually also brings up an interesting point. She's like, this isn't anything new, honestly. When I first started going to Disney with my family around 14 years ago, you can get Pop Century one room for under $100. Now you're lucky to get it around or over $200. And Danny and I have actually said that before many a times. So now, just out of curiosity, Chris, even though that you're a local, do you still ever get a room at the resorts at all?
We usually don't. We thought about it a couple times. I mean, we'd like to do like I mean, my favorite resort, hands down, is a Polynesian, and we'd like to get that for our anniversary one day. But we're actually in the process of planning another trip at this point, so it's probably gonna have to wait another year for now.
I hear you. I hear you. Interesting part is Gordon also mentions, I don't feel the cost needs to be shifted to the guests. The money flowing just with movies alone should be able to fund all these new upgrades. You know, the interesting part is that people don't realize that a corporation as big as Disney, you know, it's not all the profits don't all go into one bucket. So it's still kind of interesting way of looking at it. Linda makes an interesting comment. It's still cheaper than Disneyland. The high is $135 for a 1 day, one park. The interesting part is about Disneyland is that the vast majority of the people that go to Disneyland are APs, are AP holders, because it is more of a locals park than those from out of town. When I went to Disneyland a couple years ago, it was very interesting. I had a really hard time finding somebody there that didn't live less than 2 hours away. You know, it was really kind of interesting. Yeah, it was hilarious. By the way, Brian just went ahead and confirmed, because I asked this question while you were having some sound issues. I asked the question about, do the tickets that you buy at the gates now expire within a certain period of time? And Brian goes, yes, you pick the days and they expire much faster. That's going to be interesting. And I'm hoping, oh man, you buy some tickets last minute and all of a sudden you can't go. I'm hoping you don't lose it. That's gonna be a problem. Christine mentions that they probably do that because people sell their extra days. It's very hard to do that. It's very hard to do that with the biometric going on. I think that's less of an issue now than it has been, say, 7, 8, 9 years ago before they started doing the biometrics. Let's see. I'm just going to go through here. Everybody's saying like the AP pass discount is good. You know, a lot of people are really, you know, chiming up. A lot of people are chiming up on DVC. Yeah, people are also saying movies are a different pool of money. There's a lot of comments here that I just haven't hit yet. So, Brunette also mentions, and you pay for Max Pass at Disneyland. It doesn't. Don't forget, Max Pass is just something different. It does not replace Fast Passes at Disneyland. Just go ahead and make mention of that. They just have the old style Fast Passes that are not necessarily you know, pre-scheduled, et cetera, like Fast Pass Plus. John made a really good point. It's still a great value when you look at other options to spend our dollar and say versus say a front row seat at a rock concert that'll last, you know, a few hours. I don't know about you. The last concert I went to was like Aerosmith, and it was a stinking $50 ticket, you know, and those seats were in the lawn all the way in the back with, you know, that. Yeah. But Justin also thinks that this one could bite Disney in the butt. What do you think? Do you think this is going to cause that shift in crowds that we've been talking about for so long?
You know, I honestly, I really don't, because I remember the same commotion it caused the last time when they raised the prices, and I really thought that it was going to change the crowds. And I'm telling you right now that I can't even really. I love going to Disney. I honestly cannot stand being in Magic Kingdom on Saturday nights anymore because it's that packed. Yeah,
and people have also been saying even the extra ticket events in the evening, whether it be Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party or Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party, have kind of been following suit into almost an overcrowded situation compared to past years for those special ticketed events. I don't know if that's true. I mean, have you had those experiences as well?
I mean, it really is a toss-up. I'm not really sure exactly. I don't even know what I'm talking about. I'm sorry. I was honestly looking at. I'm trying to see exactly, because I know it used to be that if you did the Platinum Plus pass,
right,
which I believe you guys out of state people can get the Platinum and the Platinum Plus, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
It used to be that it was cheaper if you did 10 days in a park that you got the annual pass.
In most cases, it was. The rough estimate was if you're going to do more than 10 days over a course of a year, it's definitely worth getting an annual pass. If you're doing about 10 days, you're almost about there. I haven't done the exact calculations with this new pricing schema, but generally speaking, between the annual pass, etc., it comes out that about 10. Once you hit that 10-day mark, you can seriously consider it. And then also, don't forget, you can add in some discounts and so on and so forth. That also helps make up for some of that extra cash that you spend for that annual pass. So, your mileage may vary, but, there's still a lot of people that consider 10 days that magic point where you say, yeah, getting an annual pass, even for one really long trip, can actually work out. The problem of it is, next thing you know, 3 or 4 months down the road, you're automatically making another trip.
Yep.
It's going to burn a hole through your pocket. Or you do it like I do. You do a late June trip. You do it for 7 or 8 days. The next time you do it like a week or two before your annual pass expires, you get 2 good seasons out of it.
Yep.
But,
well, I was just messing around with the Disney app here, and so I did 9 days, December 21st, starting on that date.
okay.
And that comes to $608.10 with tax. So if you do 608 plus $250 for parking, you're at $858. So you're still cheaper than an annual pass.
And with your annual pass, you also get Memory Maker included.
Correct.
Which is you can count it as $200 if you don't get the prepaid amount. So in essence, if you use something like the Memory Maker, you're already ahead by $150, give or take a few bucks.
Correct.
That's you're almost right there. You are almost right there.
Yep. I honestly, when I saw the new ticket prices today, it's almost like I've heard. I'm friends with a lot of people that are out in Disneyland area as well, and like you stated before, 90% of them people out there are pass holders. And it seems as though Disney is trying to cut back on that by eliminating, I think they've eliminated the South California pass last year for like a gold pass type level. It almost appears as though Disney's trying to increase their pass holders in Florida with the new pricing because of the fact that, the free parking. Locals that I know, they tend to go maybe not as often as me, but if I'm in the park 150 days per year, they're going to a park during the day or for the whole day and into the night for probably 50 days out of the year. Whereas I just go about 150 night times.
Sure. Well, if you think about it, even if, let's call it $900 round numbers. For a local that goes 100 times a year, that's only like, think about it, 2-3 days a week, which is not impossible to do.
Correct.
You're spending less than $10 per entry. You can't see a movie these days for that.
Especially down here.
And, but if you think about it, even then, even if you stay 10 days in a year and it's $890 some, you're still talking about, a good chunk price difference than if you were to try to compare that with 1-day tickets. I realize that's not the most efficient way to do it. But still, there are different ways to do Disney in order to have people to be able to save some money. Especially if you get an annual pass, you get some of those AP dining discounts and some shopping discounts. There are different ways of doing it. Same thing if you're a DVC member. Listen, I have to get tickets just like everybody else in the world is a DVC member. My biggest thing is that I'm still able to stay in a deluxe villa for less than the price of a typical value. So to me, that's where it becomes much more worth it. Actually, the funny part is Ryan, my friend Ryan, what's going on, my friend? He says that this doesn't affect us. Disney is expensive, as it was. And we were talking today about trying to move up our next trip before the Star Wars crowd shows up for that big opening. Good point. And also Aaron Del Pritz, down by the Indie Disney meet, he's like, every time Disney raises AP prices, it makes it hard for Midwest and Northeast visitors who come 2 or 3 times a year. And I could attest to that. I think it's a real big challenge for that, especially, I mean, talk to Danny. He's no longer an AP holder just because he's starting to adult a little bit more. He's got a little bit less cash to have to float around in this, that, and the other. Let's see. John was saying it'll probably shift crowds, but revenue will not be hurt. Ticket prices are not keeping people away. Gordon jokes around by saying, hey, nothing like paying bucket loads of money to spend half a day standing in line. I still say that if you're standing in line for that long, you're probably doing something wrong. But Kelly agrees with you. She says, I agree with you, Chris. We are local, 2 hours away. I'd still consider that local. And I avoid the Magic Kingdom at night. I've only seen Happily Ever After a handful of times. We've had annual passes for 2 years in a row now. Yeah, I can see where that could be sometimes of a problem. John also says, Chris, that's why I love DVC and Bay Lake. Walk to Magic Kingdom versus waiting in the Sea of Humanity to get on the monorail or ferry to get out of the Magic Kingdom. The Sea of Humanity. I've never heard that before. That is actually pretty funny. I really like that. But this raise, and they just raised food prices, may just kick people right out of a Walt Disney World vacation. Let's touch on that for a second. I think I'm gonna say something here, and I mean this with all due respect. I think that if a $20 a person price increase, well, you know what? Let's call it this. If it goes up $200 total, your total vacation cost, $200, maybe $250. Is that enough to really price people out? And when I say price people out, I'm saying that's it. You're not coming back, period. I don't think that's the case.
No.
I think people are going to stretch it out. We talked about this when we had the food price discussion.
Yep.
People are going to stretch it out. Instead of going once a year, they may go once every 18 months. But that's why I kind of made the poll over in the Walt Disney World, the WDW community page. I basically made the point of saying, is this really, if you say this is going to price me out, I will forever no longer go to Disney. We all will. I think that's something that I understand where the comment's coming from. I really do, Christine. I totally respect that. But I think that overall, we will figure out a way. It's just one of those things. I mean, Ashley puts it perfectly. People will continue to go to Disney. You just need to save a little bit more. I do that all the time. I figure out ways to save money so I can continue, going to Disney. Like we drive instead of flying, which I know is not everybody's cup of tea. I mean, could you imagine 22 hours in a car with me? Think about that for a moment. I'm the kind of person. What? XM radio? You've got 150 channels of music? Challenge accepted.
My father-in-law, when he moved down to Florida about a year and a half ago, he drove by himself the first time, and he just listened to the whole Moana soundtrack the whole way down.
There you go. Carol made mention here. I went to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party this year. It was opening night and sold out, and the crowds were light. Yeah, they did that a little bit differently because if I'm not mistaken, that first night they had a lot of media there. It was not your typical sell of those particular tickets, so a little bit different that time. Yeah, I'm glad you went because you did go during a good time. Let's see. I'm kind of scrolling through here because I want to do it. Yeah, Gordon puts it right. Ticket prices will keep a lot of people away, but it doesn't matter because there will always be a steady flow of people willing to pay any amount without thinking about it. Let's see. Aaron, I agree with this. I expect right before Galaxy's Edge opens, there will be a huge increase in ticket prices. You know what? I'm not even going to take a bet on that because you and I both know, my friend, that is going to be insane. In fact, I don't even know how they're going to do it. That's going to be a whole new realm. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's going to change up the different level of passes too. I think there's going to be some blackout dates with some of the different passes for Hollywood studios.
I agree. I'm almost predicting that you're going to have, they're going to have some kind of new, big, fancy, schmangled, really expensive platinum, gold, silver premium pass. Throw all the metals in there. They're going to throw itanium and titanium and tungsten in there as well, just because, it's going to be an alloy. That's what that's going to be. It's going to be the new alloy pass. It's going to include all the metals, all mixed together.
That's going to go up 6 times a year.
Yeah. So I think that's a prediction I think that we've got to really kind of keep track of. I mean, between what Aaron said in the sense of the ticket prices going up and, the fact is I do agree. Next October, we're going to see a huge, huge increase. And I think also what we're going to see is a huge increase in the surge of ticket sales for APs right before that happens. Unless for some reason, actually, you know what? People better be careful if they're going to try to do that. Because what if they say, oh yeah, if you have a particular pass, you're not going to be able to go to Galaxy's Edge on opening day, even though, everything else is fine. Boy, that would really cheese people off, man.
Be a lot of upgrades on opening day.
Yeah. I just think it's really kind of crazy. Brian makes mention for $50 extra per ticket, you can make them work like the old tickets. That would actually be pretty funny. Let's see. I'm going to try to flip through. I got a lot of comments that people have been pushing. Nick goes, wait, why are you there 150 days a year? Because he's a local and he's lucky. This is interesting. Aaron, I appreciate you putting this up there. He goes, a 7-night Disney cruise is cheaper than a 7-night Disney World vacation at a moderate for a family of 4. That's really interesting that you put that up there because one of the reasons why we're not doing Behind the Ears podcast cruise right now is just because of the overall costs of things. But I suppose if you do it for a family of 4, those costs are now starting to get closer and closer together. It's very interesting. It's just one of those cases. Now I'm going to kind of flip through here really quick because I want to, and I agree. There are some people that are saying that a cruise is out of this world, which I totally agree with. So I'm just going to throw this up here. Gordon mentions, honestly, I've tried to wrap my head around DVC, and friends of ours are DVC, and I just don't see how it saves anything at all. In fact, it seems on paper to end up being more expensive, especially seeing as though my kids are little and we don't really care too much about the resort. It's just a place for us to sleep at this point. Really quick, Gordon. I thought so too. You may have heard me mention earlier, I think right now, if I count all the money that I've put into it, I'm still a lot cheaper than what I would have paid for all the trips that I would have had to rent rooms. I've done the math, and I can say that the first few years, it was almost a break even. By year 5, I was starting to save a lot of money year to year. And even now, I'm still saving a lot of cash when I consider all my costs, including membership fees, including membership fees and annual fees and things like that. I am starting to see a huge, huge difference. Right now, I pay $850 some a year. I am going to be doing 2 trips on that. And one is going to be a week long, and the other will probably be about 4 or 5 days. I don't know where else you're going to be able to do over 10 days at Disney for less than $850 on property. So I'd love to talk more about it. In fact, we may end up having our friends over at dvc-rental.com, who's one of our sponsors, join us. Again, we had a really good conversation about renting DVC points, which is also a really good way to still save money and be able to go to Disney. Kind of a partial shameless plug, but it's also a good way to save that extra cash. If you're thinking that the ticket prices are going to goof you up, now it's time to actually think about, I'm still here. Do you think we should go ahead and take a risk and see if anybody would like to talk on the air with us?
I'd give it a shot.
I think it ought to be interesting. All right, who do we got on the call today?
This is John Knight from Kentucky. How are you, Chris?
John, hey, how you doing, my friend? It's good to hear from you. Sorry for some of the technical difficulties tonight. So what kind of comment or question do you got for us tonight?
It's, not gonna lie, I'm like everybody else, don't like ever seeing a price go up, it stinks. I hate when I drive by a gas station and I see gas $50 more than the first time I started driving. It gets upsetting. But in the great scheme of things, you do the math, you still look at the value. I mean, I made some comments about, values of other ways you can be spending your money. Folks are going to still go to Disney because of the entertainment value they're going to get out of this, as well as you look at things that are coming, new lands that are coming to Disney, and you look at, yes, I know the wages are not quite where people still think they need to be, but getting people to a minimum of $15 an hour in the next few years isn't going to come cheap, and Disney's not going to give up revenues to their shareholders, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you really do make a good point there, John, because, I know we all want to go in as guests, and I know we want to get the best value for our dollar, but, the price of everything in this world has gone up. And I think that's something that we hope that it doesn't impact our vacation, but it does. Everything from, transportation costs to healthcare costs to food costs. The other part is that people's income is not necessarily increasing at the same rate, which is problematic from a economic perspective. And if you look at it that way, I'll be honest with you, compared to 5 years ago, I actually bring home 7.5% less, in my paycheck after taxes and healthcare costs and everything else, even though, I've received, some very small salary increases. My take-home pay has actually gone down. And, the thing is that what do I have to do? I have to go ahead and, reduce my costs in order to enjoy the same thing. So it's a tough call, and Disney has to face those same types of things. They're going into these big endeavors between hotels and lands and movies, as well as trying to take care of their cast members. All of that costs money. And overall, the scheme of things, I think it's what's been said has been said, and I think it's accurate. It may slow some people down, but I don't think it's going to knock many people out.
Yeah, and by no means, I know that there's been a lot of, posts in the comment section tonight about, this is really driving out, middle America. I'm not diminishing, the fact that, it is a struggle for folks to get there. My wife and I were two-teacher income family. You don't necessarily have to talk to us about low wages in a household, but, we do things. We joined DVC about 8 years ago, but we paid it off. We got that taken care of. We buy Disney gift cards as our way of saving on a monthly basis. So we do things, small ways to try and get there. And, ultimately, if it's what you want to get to, you're going to do those things.
Yeah, I totally agree. John, thanks so much for calling tonight. I really appreciate your comments.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, take care, man. We'll see you. Bye-bye. I think John's got a really good point. The whole idea behind some of this is just, it's pure economics. Disney's got to keep on, putting money into the system in order for them to really be able to be competitive with, the neighbor across the street. And just like any of us, you either increase income or decrease costs. And right now it's easier to increase income. So it looks like we got another call. Let's go ahead and see who this is. Go ahead, caller. Who do we got on the call today?
What's up? It's Jeff and Nick.
I'm sorry, who's this?
Jess and Nick.
Oh, it's Jess and Nick. So it's not just Jess anymore. It's not just Nick anymore. Now it's Jess and Nick. How you guys doing up there in Cheeseville?
It's good. It's a little cold, though.
Oh, it's a little cold. Oh, come on. You live in Wisconsin. There's no such thing as a little bit cold. You go from nice and warm to holy crap, it's like Arctic.
Yeah, that's true.
So what kind of feedback do you have for this type of thing, my friend?
Okay, so this is, Nick and I discussed this. We just upgraded or renewed our APs because they expire, and we're going to be there for our honeymoon. We're going to be there for 10 days. We decided to just upgrade it or do our APs again.
Sure.
But after this year, we have to start adulting, and it is going to be very hard to get, flights and hotel and everything with the food prices going up, ticket prices going up, hotel prices are going to go up. It's just not feasible for us to have APs anymore and be adults.
It is kind of a challenge, right? Because, kind of like what I was just mentioning. I mean, cost of living goes up higher and faster than the income that comes into our homes. And, I'm not much into self-help people or anything like that, but, even Susie Orman has once said, if you want to get out of debt, there's only one way, or there's more than one way of doing it, but one is decrease your cost or increase your income. And in essence,
exactly.
We all have to do that as a part of our own budgets. And so the only thing I would probably say is I think we all end up having to just budget for our next Disney vacation. And it just becomes, it becomes a second nature thing. And then you find out, hey, you know what? It's $20 a month. There might be $20 a month somewhere in your own finances that you realize, hey, I subscribe to something that I don't even use. And so you take that out of the picture. Boop, there's your Disney differential in your finances right then and there. So, just using that as a small example. But you're right, especially for younger people, they try to adult. They try to be responsible with what they make. And it's just all about budgeting. And I think that's the biggest thing. But I know it's not going to stop you from going.
I mean, it's going to slow it down a little bit. We won't be able to go all the time anymore. And it's really sad, but flights from here are getting so expensive, and you know me, Miss Bougie has to stay on property because I'm spoiled like that. So it's gonna be, we have to decide what we want to do. We've got a Disneyland trip coming up in March, so
yeah,
I don't know. We might just have to. APs might have to wait.
Well, it's also one of those cases where I know that you're also a big Run Disney fan. You're a big Run Disney participant. This is also going to most likely impact the number of races that you actually try to attend.
Exactly. As of right now, I'm only signed up for Wine and Dine coming up here in about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I didn't sign up for any of them because the hotel prices are getting too expensive, and travel, the bids are expensive. Disney's starting to get out of our price range. As much as we love it, we have to pick and choose which ones we want to do.
Yeah, it's really what it's coming down to. And I think Trisha actually mentioned something about that as well. It's like the things that we end up doing at the parks are going to change as much as, where we stay, how we stay, when we go, how we vacation. For some people, they're still going to want to go, but they're going to have to change a few things. All right. Well, hey, Jess, listen, I'm going to go ahead and let you run so I can take one more call. By all means, give Nick a big hug for me.
I will. And go Brewers.
Oh, my gosh. All right. We'll see you later. Oh, my gosh. Go Brewers. She had to throw that in there. I'll take one more call. And I think we're getting some real common sense comments here, though, Kris. I mean, it's one of those cases where for a lot of these people, things are going to have to change. And but they're not going to stop going. It's as simple as that.
I think the biggest thing is like you guys always say, we do Disney differently. The one thing I've really changed down here since I go to the park as often as I do is, we bought a cooler backpack, so we bring a lot of refreshments into the park with us if we do a full day to cut back on some of the food costs. Now, I know it's a little bit different for people that come down on vacation. That's part of their vacation is the experiencing of the different dining options on property.
Right.
But they might want to cut some of that money out so they can still get to the parks.
Yeah, I totally agree. Someone, you're going to cut something out. I know there's one more person that was trying to call, and I think I accidentally hit the wrong button, and hopefully he'll call back. I have a feeling I know who it's going to be. I didn't give it a chance to caller ID. Oh, okay. Let's see if I can do this. Hey, caller. How are you doing tonight? Oh, hold on a second. Okay, it still didn't work. I actually thought that for some reason it was because I had a problem with my speaker on my phone, and I do not. Who's on the call today?
Stephen Mary.
Hey, Stephen. How are you doing today?
We're doing excellent.
Excellent. So what kind of thing does this what kind of situation does this put you in sense of price increases?
Well, we already have our annual pass, and we're DVC members, so we're going to get 3 trips out of this annual pass.
Okay.
So we're going to get about 20 to 25 days use out of it, so that's about $20 a day.
Yeah, that actually is a nice breakdown of it too. I mean, you're definitely going to use the investment of the annual pass to its fullest extent. That's for darn sure.
And we also used, like you said, the photo pass, the CD, and you get discounts on dining, as you get 10% and sometimes 20% off different sit-down restaurants and things like that. So it still can work.
Yeah, I do agree. I think that it still can work. I think people are just going to have to look at this a little bit differently. I think some people were thinking the food prices going up is one thing, and you know what, food prices go up every year. We know it, and it's just one of those inevitable things, right? I mean, prices are going to go up, and we're just going to have to kind of work with it. But it sounds like you're definitely using those discounts. You're using your AP to its full extent. You're getting multiple trips out of your DVC membership. I mean, in my opinion, you're doing Disney right, my friend.
Well, also, too, just for the person that's thinking about DVC, we stayed in a 1-bedroom Grand Floridian. One night was $809 a night, and for $15 a point, it was 33 points, so that's only $500. So when you look at it that way, we save $300 a night.
Yeah, you can save a lot of money just, if you think of that DVC point value type of thing, even if you rent points. Yeah. I definitely agree. It's really cool.
We went to the beach club at $75 a point like 20 years ago, and then we've bought some other ones recently, but still only about like $100 a point. So we're in pretty cheap too.
Yeah, I know. I mean, as mentioned, I could sell my Saratoga contract right now for a few bucks more than what I paid for it, and in essence, really get my money's worth out of it. But I'm not going to sell, not anytime soon. So,
well, I thought $75 was expensive, so I know they're up to $175 now or whatever it is.
But it's actually a little north of that, so it's even a better deal now if you think about it. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You just got to price it out and see how much you go, and it can pay for itself if you use it right. Absolutely.
Well, Steve, thanks for calling. I got Danny chomping at the bit to call in now, so if I don't let him on the show,
I know
he's gonna cry, and I don't want him. Crying Danny is not a fun Danny.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Steve. Take care. All right. I know that Danny is trying to call in. I know he is. And so I'm going to let him call in because Lord knows I got to hear what he has to say about this, Kris. Oh, and guess who is here? Hello, Pizzeria Central.
All right, so here's the thing. I like pepperoni. My girlfriend doesn't. So I'm going to need 7 pieces of pepperoni on 4 of the slices. And then on the other 4 slices, I need you to rip off the cheese. But I need grated cheese put back on top. And then put that cheese you ripped off back on top. Now, if you want to make it fun, you can throw some pepperoni underneath. Maybe she won't recognize it. But, I mean, I don't know. Do you guys have 2-liter Mountain Dew?
Only diet.
All right. You know what? Let me get 17 of those, but I'm going to need you to make sure all the caps are off because I can't open the caps. Am I calling 21? Do I win something? Do I get a swag bag from behind the podcast? Huh? Oh, I know the best giveaway you could do. You can do a 22-hour car ride and only listen to smooth jazz the entire time.
Oh no! You could
but
not.
It's me singing smooth jazz. You know, we could hire like a trumpet player to sit in the back, maybe someone on the saxophone, and I will just sing sweet melodies for 22 hours straight.
I love you, Danny.
All right, so I want to actually touch on this real quick because I know you turned off commenting, and I was able to catch part of the show. Anybody listening? Hey, everybody! Look, I made it on. I made something of myself. I'm so proud. Does it keep guests from frequenting Disney? Does it keep me from going to Disney? No. Anybody who says yes, well, then more than likely before the price increase, you probably weren't affording it or going anyway. And that's not a slight on everybody. Listen, as much as we all love Disney, sometimes it's out of the realm of possibility money-wise. So does it keep me personally out of a park? No. But what it does is it does limit my time in a park, vacation-wise. If I normally went, like, last year I was there for 52 days, and I had the annual pass. That made sense. For someone who doesn't have an annual pass, you know, I might only be able to squeeze a full week out. And it seems like Disney is spiting their nose a little bit because by raising prices, they're making more money. But by keeping me out of the park, let's say for an additional 7 days, you know, you are now losing out on other outside revenues, such as overpriced Mickey ears and Minnie ears and other merchandise and Casey's corn dog nuggets. I mean, the amount that Chris and myself eat in Casey's corn dog nuggets is the value of probably a one-day park ticket.
I think we know this. I mean, exactly.
So that's my only thing. And the weird thing is, why did we see 2 upticks in one calendar year in prices? And I did happen to catch, a couple people going back and forth about, what is Galaxy's Edge going to turn into when the prices go up for that. And, we always make the joke of, hey, Galaxy's Edge opening in 2019, the line starts here, and you're basically at your house, because that's how long the line's going to be to get in. But does this actually limit the amount of people that, would want to go? Or are we going to see the tail end of 2018, early 2019? Are we going to see a decrease from maybe families that would have done a smaller 4 or 5 day trip are going to say, hey, listen, with these prices and Galaxy's Edge opening up, and we know those prices are probably going to go up again, are they going to see a decrease in people? And it could go back to basically, I believe if my mind does me justice, these price increase came back in early February. And a lot of people were saying, hey, what this does is, with the structured tier of pricing, does it make Disney crowds less because certain people are now not going to want to do that Christmas week because of how expensive it is? Could we see this happening again on a larger scale? Only time is going to tell. I will say this, though, and I've never been a proponent to say this, saying that, Disney is almost pricing out the average blue-collar family. I mean, a Disney trip as of a couple days ago, staying even at a moderate with a 4-day, with a multi-day hopper with a family of 4, more than likely your trip is ranging $5,000 to $7,000. And more than likely that's not including food and that's not including airfare. That is substantial. So if I'm already spending $6,000, without having a calculator and, seeing what Kris Hiller, broke it down. I know Brian broke it down in prices, and I know Aaron Prince broke it down. Without having that in front of me, I mean, how much are we talking of going up? Are we talking an extra $1,000? Because when you've got a mortgage, you've got car payments, you've got kids doing sports, and you're trying to keep a roof over your head and food in your bellies, an extra $1,000, that could be substantial to a family. Especially, I know, like Gordon was saying, he's paying $2,000 plus for 4 round-trip plane tickets out of Connecticut. I mean, that's substantial, or do we see a higher influx of people driving now?
Yeah, and I think you actually bring up a really good point in sense of the transportation, because think about it, transportation costs, tell you the truth, I think transportation costs have gone up much more than the proportional value of a Disney vacation, to be honest with you. I mean, gas prices have gone down, which is great for someone like me who drives, but the fact of the matter is that, when it costs my family and I, $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 to travel, that's a lot of cash. It only costs me $300 to $400 to drive. That extra grand is quite a bit. But I know, like Jess, when she's saying how much it costs her to travel, it's even more so. Connecticut, even more so. I could even picture, some of our friends on the West Coast that cross the Mississippi to go to, Walt Disney World. Those tickets are definitely expensive. Not to mention the sheer amount of time it takes just to be in the air traveling. It's a pretty big deal.
Look at it this way, though. You are lucky enough where you have a little bit of flexibility when it comes to traveling. Jess has a little bit of flexibility. Someone like me who doesn't have that flexibility, that has 7 days off, that's all you get, in that week's vacation.
Yeah.
If I now need to drive, I would rather spend the 4 hours, 5 hours, 2 hour flight, 2 hours before the flight, hour to, 40 minutes at Disney. That's 5 hours out of a day. You can still salvage that day, whether it's the spring, the hotel, or just mulling around, or some people like to rush into the park. If I now need to add a drive, you're talking about 18 plus hours, and that's if I drive straight through and I'm barely stopping for gas and maybe a quick, bucket of fried chicken somewhere. It's a major problem, because now you're talking about my 7-day trip now needs to cut realistically back to 4, because with my line of work, I can't drive 18 hours, get home, go to sleep, and then have to do a full week worth of driving again. So for me driving, it's either do you spend a few $1,000s for a flight and cut back? Either way, your vacation's getting cut back, because if you need to scale back 1 or 2 days for the drive, you're probably going to have to scale back, 1 to possibly 2 days staying on property, due to the fact of how expensive the hotels are getting, the parking is getting. There's just so many features, and I get the idea of raising car tickets. Listen, supply and demand, they have a business, they need to make money. But where do you say enough's enough? Like, did you really need to raise the mini ears by $10? I mean, you already charged me $60 for a sweatshirt that you're probably it's only costing you 40 cents. And I don't knock them for that, because it's not a necessity. You don't need a Disney Park, hoodie. But if you wanted one, where does it stop? Because eventually, I think if these other hotels outside of Disney are going to be smart, they're going to ramp up, go buy more buses to offer quicker and more efficient transportation than they already offer, and lower their prices just enough where people are going to say, man, I really like those magic hours, but I could stay 2 days longer at the Holiday Inn on, Hotel Boulevard than I could staying at Pop Century.
Yeah, I totally agree. Agree.
But I'll let you go. If you just need my email address, I'll PM you for that special package that I just won. But
yeah, you win the Billy Joel concert tickets and the WROK T-shirts.
Woo! Billy Joel, man. I haven't seen Billy Joel in a while. All right, guys. Well, everybody have a great night. Thanks for letting me call in. And, Chris, keep it going, man. You're doing a heck of a job.
No worries, bro. We'll see you later. Bye-bye. All right, the one, the only, the legend, the myth, Danny D'Angelo, everybody. He can't keep away from here, Chris.
Not at all.
Well, tell you the truth, we're going to go ahead and get going here, and I honestly think that the most interesting part to this is that I think time is only going to tell what this is really going to do. And, the fact of the matter is that I'm almost feeling right now that the next time prices go up, I'm tempted to not talk about it. I'm just tempted to not talk about it anymore because it's just one of those things that keeps on happening. We all get ticked off every time it happens, and it's not changing anything.
It's exactly what I said in the other group. It's like I touched on before. It's the same process every year. It happens. They announce it. Everybody gets up in arms about it, and then they implement the new prices. And it's talked about for the first few months, and then everybody just kind of forgets about it until the next time it comes around. And it's the same process year after year after year. But I will agree. I think they are outpricing some people. I do know, and just from firsthand experience, that, like I said, the parks don't seem like they're getting any emptier. And I do have a funny feeling that some of these parking costs are somehow connected to the monorail upgrades that are coming.
I always thought some of the parking cost increases, whether it be for park parking or resort parking, I think it's going to be used for the transportation infrastructure in general, whether it be the monorail system, updating buses, or hey, a lot of the roads there are all getting updated, making places safer to drive, make it a little bit easier to get around, hopefully reduce some of the congestion from the cars. It's kind of funny because when they started talking about that back, last February time frame, they just started doing some of that road construction, and now some of that road construction is actually done. And it's like, they have to pay for that somehow. And it's going to be through fees. It's going to be through, parking fees and this, that, and the other, which, by the way, if you're a, DVC member, you don't have to pay parking at the resort hotels. Just saying. I know that's going to save me some money this next coming trip, but we'll have to see how it goes. All right, Kris, any final words for our friends here watching with us tonight?
Just like I said, if you can try to find different ways of saving throughout the park to make your vacation a little bit easier, just try different things of, like I said, bringing, your own drinks into the park to save a few dollars here and there. And at the end of the day, the price changes are not going away anytime soon. And I think it's something we just got to adjust our vacations to.
Yeah, I completely agree. All right, let's listen to some really awesome music to take us away. You heard the show, and we hope you want more. Well, feel free to join us over at our social media platforms. Instagram and our Facebook page can be found at Behind the Ears Podcast. Our webpage is behindtheearspodcast.net, and our email is behindtheearspodcast@gmail.com. And our Twitter handle is @BehindTheEarsPC. And come and join the conversation about all things Disney over at the WDW community page. Don't forget to rate and review the show over at iTunes or Apple Podcasts, as it really helps us get the word out about the show. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the show on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or the Podbean app. Also, you can listen to us on Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and via Alexa and Google Home. Alrighty, everybody. Hey, listen, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Kris, for joining us, filling in for Uncle Danny, who is on special assignment. Of course, we all know that he just could not stand not being here, so he had to call in. Sorry for all the technical problems today, everybody. It's just really weird when some of those things happen, even though I tested before the show. I don't understand. Sometimes this stuff happens. Well, I'll tell you what. Until we meet again, I hope everybody has a wonderful evening, and we can't wait to talk to you on Thursday. Have a great evening, and take care.